I'm so excited about this class because we're going to be doing 4 different images together, and not only that, it's going to be huge participation from you guys as well. Because creative effects, there's really no guidelines. It's totally just, we're going to be combining different images in different ways. I'm going to show you guys how to use blending modes and layer masks and just really great methods that are very simple that can create very artistic images. So we're going to be going from start to finish on 4 different images during this class. And before we do, let's just go through a short little keynote. That's the end. It was very short. It was very short. So Photoshop, it's a great tool for editing photos, but it can be used for creative purposes as well. And this is kind of the stuff that I really love, like combining things together and creating, we're going to be doing like a piece of like album art in this class as well. We're going to be combining images using blending modes, layer masks, and other really simple tools, but we're going to create some stunning images. So in 90 minutes, we're going to be going over several different examples and a mock album cover. In this class, you're going to learn how to combine images using blending modes as well as advanced layer masking. We're going to show you guys how to transform photos and graphics using Photoshop filters. We're going to talk about the blending modes and get everyone so they can understand how the blending modes are grouped and how they worked, and we're going to show you some great ways to shift through them. And then we're going to also show you guys how to work with type in Photoshop. So yeah, that's it. We're going to give you a quick preview here. Let's just jump out of our presentation. So I'm going to jump into Photoshop. This is actually 3 of the 4 images that we're going to be doing in this 90-minute segment. So really, really cool images. Just a brief little preview now. We're going to go ahead and close these down and build everything back up from scratch again. And they're probably going to turn out differently this time because that's how this sort of thing goes. Even if I wanted to make it the exact same, it'd be very hard to do. So let's go ahead and start by choosing, kind of getting used to the idea of creating different images and combining different images together, and kind of talking about what I look for whenever I'm going to be bringing these things together. So the images that we're using for today, they're from Fotolia.com, which is a stock image website. You can use stock images for your own creative effects like we're doing today, or you can take your own photos. Either way is totally good. So what I'm looking for when I start to pull images for these effects, generally I'm looking for relatively simple portraits. In this case, we're going to be working with a lot of portraits. I'm looking for something relatively simple with a high contrast between light and dark. That's really where the blending modes start to shine, is the differences between light and dark, because the blend modes really play off of that. For instance, this image just immediately stuck out because it's a beautiful image. We've got a great subject. It's very simple, which means if I decide to make this image quite a bit more complex, it's not going to be overly complex. Sometimes when you combine multiple images together, you just kind of get a jumble of images, and it doesn't really tell a story. So I like things to start off by combining 2 separate images that are relatively simple and bring them together that are more complex. The second thing that I look for when I am bringing images together is how well they're going to play together. For instance, this image here, she's highly made up. She's got her hair slicked back, and to me, this is like a picture of an urban woman. This is not like Little Miss Sunshine out in the country playing with the owls and barn animals and stuff like that. Playing with the owls.
I definitely don't see her skipping through daisies.
No.
Let's just say that.
No. So you kind of want to bring that into the end image. It's going to help tell the story if you combine this together with a photo that actually might say something about the subject. Maybe where they would actually live, or where they would be doing business. Something that would reflect a little bit more and continue telling the story. So I wouldn't choose a beach. I wouldn't choose like a beautiful mountain landscape. So for this image, we've chosen a picture of a city at night. So I'm going to show you, we're going to go ahead and start off with that. So let's go ahead and open the image of this subject here. Here we go. And we're going to open our next image, which is this guy. This is, that's New York, right?
Yes. Wrong skyline.
What's that?
That's the wrong skyline.
That's the wrong skyline. Actually, you know what? I did have this, because I knew I was going to get it. So we're going to open them both, but we're going to let you guys vote. There we go. Beautiful. So we want to combine these together. Now, before I do, I want to just look at what I have to actually work with in my base image. So obviously, when I'm combining images together, my goal is not to cover up my subject's face. Like this, we want to keep intact, right? I don't need something to fill up all my background as well, because I like the simplicity of my image. So what I want is for something to fill up this dark area that surrounds our subject and kind of get her to blend in with whatever we have in the background. So that to me says, if it's a dark area in the original photo, I want to combine it with something that's dark in the second photo for the exposure. I don't want to combine it with a bright sunny day because it's not going to fit. You want to match the lighting of the second shot as close as you possibly can to the lighting of the first shot. So that's why we've chosen a couple cities at night. So let's go ahead and bring those into this image here. Very simply, just grabbing the Move tool, we're going to hold down the Shift key and click and drag from one image to another. There we go. Let's go ahead and close that down. We're going to do the same thing with this. So Shift, click and drag from one image to the other, and we can close this down as well. Okay, let's hit F to full screen and go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. All right, now my first goal here is to create a layer mask, because although these cities, they'd look good like that, on their own, if I was to just change the blending mode, they would wind up affecting the entire image. So you can see them outside of there as well. So the first thing I need to do is create a layer mask. So in this case, and we've gone over multiple ways to create layer masks, but in this case, I'm going to use the most simple method that I possibly can. And that's my general strategy. Start with the most simple method you can, and then move more complex. So in our last class, we went over how to use the pen tool. And in this case, the pen tool would work, but we don't need to use the pen tool because our edges are fairly consistent, and we have a very, very clean background. So what we're going to use is our magic wand tool, because it's the most simple tool to start with. So basically, I'm going to choose a tolerance that works. 20 is a good starting place. If you need to select more, you can always increase your tolerance or hold down the Shift key to add to your selection. So in this case, all I'm doing is selecting out my background. Perfect. So we're selected out. Now I'm going to go ahead and load this as a layer mask on our background, and then I can choose to enable or disable this layer mask. We're actually going to wind up using this layer mask for other layers because we actually want her to be completely visible. All right, before we do, I'm going to just refine the edge of the layer mask really quick. So we're going to go to Select, and I'm going to go to Refine Mask. There we go. All right, let's go to Reveal Layer here. There we go. Let's try Overlay. I'm just going to zoom in. We did have some hair on the top of the selection, and a really great way to just refine the edge, if you do have hair in your selection, is to grab your Refine Radius tool. So using the Refine Radius tool, I'm just going to make my brush a little bit larger, and I'm going to paint in right up here at the very top, right over top of where we have hair, and it's going to do a really nice job. You can see how it extended all the way out to the edge of my hair. So let's hit OK. There we go. All right, zooming in, I'm going to hold Alt or Option and click on my layer mask. So we can see that's actually a really nice layer mask that we started out with just a magic wand tool. So more than good enough for what we needed to, cover. Okay, now this layer mask we can have visible on this layer. You can move a layer mask really, really easily. Just click on it and drag it to another layer, and now that layer mask is on another layer, which in this case is perfect because we didn't actually need it on our first layer. Now, there we go, done. It's perfect. We're going to do the same thing with this city as well. So this time, instead of just clicking and dragging, because that would just move my layer mask, I want to hold Alt or Option, and I can click and drag, and that's going to duplicate that layer mask. Okay. Now, in this case, we actually want to invert our layer mask, because a lot of the time, this is basically what you would want. If you were compositing your subject, you'd want your subject cut out on top of your city. In this case, we're actually going to put the background into the image of our subject. So I'm going to click on the layer mask, and we're going to hit Control or Command I to invert that. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this city, Control or Command I to invert the layer mask, and now we can see the cities are only visible inside of our subject. So as far as layer masking goes, that's pretty much as complicated as we're going to be getting. You guys can see it's really not that difficult to select just your subject and refine that selection a little bit better. Okay, Now we have one more challenge. We're going to go ahead and start with this city. Our next challenge is going to be making just one area. I want this area to be visible right here through my city. I want it to be visible through my city, and I want it to blend in a very nice, natural way. And to do that, I'm going to use something called blend if, which you guys have probably heard of before. It uses the light or the dark of the underlying layers to show the visibility of this layer. So clicking on layer 2, I can double click right here, which is going to bring up our layer style. And then we're going to be going from right to left. So I'm going to hold Alt or Option and go from right to left. And you can see her face is going to start to shine through. Let me explain that. It's because this layer that we're on, we're telling it to be not visible in the lighter areas of the underlying layer. It sounds super complex, but if you do it a couple of times, you'll really get the hang of it. If we did the other way around, it would start to not be visible in the darker areas. So in this case, we want the face to show through. So I'm going to take this, go all the way to the left there, and start sliding this to the left. There we go. And we can see our city is really just starting to disappear from that light area. Isn't that cool? So already we're off to a good place. And there are only a few more things we got to do. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say next. We're off to a good place and we'll just keep going with that. It's like, all right, we're alive. I just got to keep talking. Hopefully, say something dumb and then, a few minutes later say something smart and you kind of balance it out. All right. So the next thing I want to do, I like how dark this is. I like the darkness of the original photo because it looks real and it looks like it's following the actual light of the image. When I add the city over top, to me, it's a little bit too light. It doesn't really look real anymore. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab a levels adjustment layer. So adjustment layer right here, we're going to go down to where we see levels. Okay, and now I can choose to have it be lighter or darker. Okay, now by default, this is going to affect everything that's underneath it. And if I only want this level adjustment layer to affect the city, I'm going to clip it. So clipping masks, very helpful. And by the way, if it seems like we're covering a ton, this is all going to be very similar from photo to photo. So you got to keep track of like 15 different things for this photo, but it's going to be the same 15 things for the next one, and the same. And most time you're in Photoshop, it's kind of the same thing over and over again. So don't feel like, if your brain is like 80% full right now, you're fine. We're just going to keep showing you guys over and over again. Okay, so making this a little darker, I'm going to right click on the levels, and I'm going to go down to create a clipping mask. And this is going to make the levels adjustment layer visible only where our subject is visible. All right, so we're actually really close. We're going to do the same thing with both layers. The very last thing that I want to do is change the location of my city. Because right now it's kind of boring. I don't see any cool towers. There's nothing on her face. If I just click on my layer itself and I use my move tool, it's going to start to move. There we go. What's going on? Yeah, it's actually doing it right. Okay. That's good. Oh, I know why. Okay. Let me back up just a little bit. I was going to say you have to change, because by default, the layer and the layer mask are going to be moving together, right? Which it doesn't even look like my layer mask is moving. And the reason it doesn't look like it's moving is because I have blend if as an option on. So let me just take that back off and show you what it would be like if I was moving the layer and the layer mask. All right, I don't know if that's helpful at all for you guys, but that was the idea. So if this is the case, if you got your city and it's in the right place, like this, let's just go back. If you have your city and it's in the right place, all right, there we go. And you did want to move it. It normally would do this, right? You can get around that by clicking on this chain link between your city and your mask, or whatever your subject is. That way you can click on just your layer, and the layer mask is going to stay in the same place, because I'm not linking them together. So by default it would do that, but now I can actually move one independent of the other. All right, there we go. But you weren't seeing that because the background is light, and I had blend if on, which was telling this layer to not be visible where the underlying layer was light. Does that make sense? I know that got a little bit complex there, but I was trying to explain why it's necessary to make sure you do unlink those because we didn't see the end result, but it was still important in the image. All right, so here we can basically choose whatever we think would wind up completing this image. So I'm going to make our background a little bit larger. All right, so we can fill a little bit more of the image. All right, and then it's totally up to you wherever you'd like to put. That looks kind of nice, right? It's not like too much. Oh, you know what would be really cool? Actually, this would be cool. All right, I'm going to duplicate this layer. Controller Command J to duplicate that. Let's clip that as well. I'm going to change this from normal down here to lighten. So now I have duplicates of all these lights, and I can bring some like right on her lips to make that kind of extend. That's going to be cool. All right, we're going to just have a little bit of fun right now. All of Photoshop. This is really fun. If you're not having fun in Photoshop, you're not doing it right. Photoshop is a lot of fun because you can really just do whatever you want. And a lot of the time, I have no idea what I'm going to do when I start. It really comes in, actually kind of playing around and getting in there. Like for instance, I had no idea I was going to wind up doing this. A lot of it comes in just, those times when you're just kind of playing around and something works and you just kind of run with it. There we go. That kind of looks like lips going over there. Anyway, some of you are like, oh, they don't look like lips at all. What are you talking about? Okay. Maybe if I make some of these others black. There we go. There we go. Kind of looks like an eye now. Yeah. Oh, now you see it. All right, okay. You weren't on my side a minute ago. You're like, oh, that looks good job. Now you see it. Okay, we're good. Yeah, it kind of looks like an eye, right? Let's just move these up just a little bit. Cool, we've got an eye and some lips there. All right, added bonus. I wasn't planning on doing that, but hey, why not? I'll take it. Very cool. All right, so there's one example of how we can combine multiple photos together. That was pretty cool, right? Nice, simple. Probably everyone feels like that's within their grasp doing, and it didn't take that long at all.